The real barrier to personalized learning is not technology, it's not funding, it's not even curriculum, nor is it class size. The biggest barrier is that our educational system was never designed for personalization, and most educators were never trained to deliver it. So, how do we fix this astronomical problem? Because we know that our students now need personalized learning more than ever. This is exactly why so many families are opting out of traditional education, why teachers are leaving the system, why teachers are building micro schools and homeschool hybrids. How are we going to really move through this transition and change in society when we were never really prepared for it? And so what do we need to focus on? And how can we bridge the gap between what is happening in traditional education, parents trying to homeschool to give more personalized education, founders trying to give a more personalized education, but maybe not having the experience or the training? That's exactly what we're going to dive into today. Welcome to the ReDream Education podcast. I'm Makenzie Oliver, microschool founder, educator, coach, and believer in the power of starting small, dreaming boldly, and rebuilding the future of education one courageous step at a time. If you're here, it's because something in your life, your classroom, your family, your child, your community, or your calling is asking for a new dream, a wiser dream, a redream. This podcast is where we challenge the old models, rethink what learning can be, and build innovative pathways for children, families, and communities. Each week, you'll gain the systems, strategies, stories, and soul work you need to design personalized learning, understand how education is changing for the better, start or scale a micro school, lead with confidence, make a change for your family, and create an education model that actually works for today's world. Because you aren't just dreaming of something different, you are building it. This is a space where we re-envision what school can be, reimagine how children learn, and rebuild the systems that were never designed to meet the needs of our future and current generation. This is a podcast to ReDream Education as we share insights, strategies, stories, and tools to teach our children better, transform learning at home, support innovative education models, and invest financially or personally in the future of students everywhere. Because you aren't just dreaming about a better education, you're part of the movement to create it. Welcome to the ReDream Education podcast. This is where the future begins. When I was a public school teacher, I really didn't even know what the term personalized education meant. Now, I knew what differentiation meant, and even speaking with a principal that I worked closely with this past week, he said differentiation is still the hardest thing that teachers wrestle with. So as we as educators have went through training to learn about differentiation, how to differentiate to meet students' needs, it's not quite the same as personalized. And even when you are in traditional education, you still have the same age group of students sitting in the classroom. You are trying to differentiate to meet their needs, but you still have specific grade level standards that you are bound to for those students. You know, we often talk about personalized learning as if schools simply need to decide to do it. But honestly, what if the real challenge is that our entire educational system was built to do the exact opposite? And then if it was built to do the exact opposite, like how it was established in the Industrial Revolution, now we're trying to learn how to differentiate, and then we add in an extra layer of personalization. Now we're starting to get to the real root of what needs to happen, but there's still so many barriers to get there. During the Industrial Revolution, schools were designed to educate large numbers of students efficiently, create consistency, prepare workers for factories and assembly lines, and to teach compliance, to teach routines, and to teach standardization. This is exactly where grade levels came from, bells came from, subject blocks came from, age-based grouping, standardized testing. The system was never designed around individual learners. It was designed around efficiency. And of course, we still want to be efficient. And to be fair, it worked for what society needed at that time. But of course, as you know, society has changed, but children haven't changed. Although, yes, they actually have changed because of technology. So the way that children learn, I really do beg to differ that they don't learn, that they don't need the same things that they needed 50, 60 years ago. I still believe we are humans and we all still learn best through our own mode of learning, whether it be auditory learning, kinesthetic learning, hands-on learning, which are both very similar. And while there are students who have different learning styles, they will learn better, but research really hasn't consistently shown that students learn best only through learning style. Students do have learning preferences, they still have learning strengths, they have needs, but not all students benefit from multiple scenarios, meaning that a student may prefer visual supports, but they still need to develop listening skills. A student may enjoy hands-on learning, but they still need to learn through reading. So the goal isn't to label students, it's really to provide multiple pathways to learning. And this all boils down to readiness, to pace, to interest. And when I say readiness, what does a student currently know? Pace. How quickly does a student master new concepts? Interest. What motivates the student? Supports. What barriers exist? How do they demonstrate their understanding as their strength? So there's different learning styles that have come into play that have to be considered. And I remember when I was teaching in Missouri, now I'm in Florida, but this was back in 2011, I believe, is whenever I started at a new school. And man, oh man, it was the most fascinating learning that I received about learning different children's styles of receiving and applying information. So also known as their learning style. But then we also went even further through mastery-based recording. And from that experience, when I moved to Florida, it just went away because I didn't have the capacity. I didn't have the opportunities in my classroom to really implement them. But now having a micro school, I'm just peeling back that curtain and we are working through identifying students' learning styles, but also their mastery and what concepts they've mastered. And if they've already mastered them, how can we prepare teachers to move students along at their own level? And curriculum is huge. It's huge because we have to make sure that we have the right resources to teach children what they need to learn, what they've not mastered yet. We also need to make sure that our teachers are equipped. We also have to make sure that we know the student's learning style. There's a ton of information that goes into personalized learning. And I do want to take this time right now, before we get into even more nitty-gritty of personalization, is the difference between differentiation versus personalization. It is a very misunderstood concept in education because people will use the terms interchangeably and they are not the same. Differentiation is when the teacher adjusts instruction to meet students' needs. The teacher is going to remain the primary driver. They provide different reading passages. They offer extra support. They give advanced challenges. They might have flexible grouping. They might give modified assignments. And may I repeat, it is still the hardest thing for teachers to do. Not only do teachers say that that is hard for them, administrators will say that is hard for them, and parents notice that it is hard for them. Differentiation reminds me of having a teacher-centered adaptation. So maybe it's a fourth grade classroom studying fractions. The teacher provide manipulatives to a student who's struggling. They might give grade level practice to most students, and they're going to offer enrichment problems to advanced students, but they're all still studying fractions. Everyone is studying fractions, but the teacher is differentiating how those students are going to learn fractions. But personalization is different. It is tailored around the student's readiness, their goals, their interests, their strengths, their needs of mastery. So the student actually becomes a more active participant, and we're giving them specifically, an analogy would be what the doctor thinks would be the best medication for them. So, if you go to the doctor and you have a cold, for some children, they may have a cold and the doctor will give them amoxicillin. But if a doctor gave amoxicillin to my youngest daughter, Juliana, she could have a very bad allergic reaction. She cannot have amoxicillin. She's going to need a very specific medication. Let's say she tries that medication. She doesn't respond very well to it. They're going to try a different medication, something that is personalized to what her body can respond to. This is exactly what we are discussing when we're talking about personalization and learning. It is a student-centered pathway. So let's give an example of students working towards mastery in math. One student might need support with multiplication. Another student is trying to master fractions, and another is trying to solve ratios. The students are not on the same lesson. Each has their individualized pathway towards growth. I really do love this distinction, and just a simple way to explain it. Differentiation, the teacher adjusts the experience for the student, but personalization, the teacher is giving an entirely different pathway to the student. It's like three people training for a marathon. Traditional education, everyone runs 5 miles per day. That's what I did whenever I was in the track team. Like, everybody get up to the starting line and we're all running 3 miles today. But I was a sprinter. Why did I have to run 3 miles? No matter the fitness level, no matter what I was training for in track, everybody ran 3 miles. Differentiation, everyone runs 5 miles. But maybe one group went with Coach Morris and he gave specific coaching to them. Maybe this other group got more frequent water breaks. Maybe this other group got to go a little bit slower. But personalization, for me as a runner, really came when my coach would pull me outside of running that 3 miles and say, you're going to practice handing off batons to your relay team today. But my friend Lauren, who's in long jump, she's working on long jump, right? We all may have had the 3 mile warm up, but now we're breaking off and we're doing specifically what we are called to do, what our bodies were ready to do, what we are naturally gifted and strong at. So my coach may tell me, you're going to work on practicing baton handoffs today. You're going to do 3 400-meter sprints. Then you're going to do 2 200-meter sprints, then 100-meter sprint. But my friend Lauren, I'm looking at her thinking, all she has to do is run and jump in the pit. I want to be like Lauren. I just want to do long jump. But guess what? I'm not ready for long jump. I'll never be ready for long jump. That is not my gift and that is not my talent. I have a different fitness plan. I have a different goal. I have a different strength. I have a different challenge. Every pathway in track is individualized. Okay? We have to think about this in personalization for learning. And it's hard because when I refer to that track team, guess how many coaches are out there? Lots. You got the head coach, you got the relay coach, you got the long jump coach, you got the high jump coach, you've got the long distance coach, the sprinting coach, and the list goes on. If you are a teacher, a homeschooling parent, or a brand new microschool founder who is trying to figure out what comes next, you need to hear this. Microschool Masterminds is the community and coaching program I wish I had when I first stepped out of the classroom and built our microschool. Yes, straight from the living room to now nearly over 100 students thriving in year 6. This is where teachers and founders finally get the roadmap, the support, and the systems to create a thriving microschool without burning out. Inside Microschool Masterminds, you will receive weekly live coaching with me and other powerful professionals who discuss strategy, solutions, and provide personal support. You also receive step-by-step modules to build your school legally, financially, and operationally. Marketing enrollment done for you with training that works even if you've never advertised before. And you can learn this on your own time through our Microschool Masterminds classroom modules. Worried about multi-age classrooms or curriculum? We've got you covered with our curriculum planning resources. You receive templates, checklists, scripts, and systems for marketing, financial systems, operations, community building, and growth. Everything is ready for you to plug in and go. Most importantly, you have access to a powerful community of other founders who understand your dreams and your fears. Whether you're starting really slow, or you're still teaching the classroom and you're dreaming of breaking free, or you're already running your micro school but feeling overwhelmed, trying to figure out also how to build a hybrid program. This is a place where you gain clarity, confidence, and of course, a plan. Because you don't have to do this alone. You deserve guidance, you deserve support, and your micro school deserves to grow with ease, not chaos. If you're ready to ReDream Education and take the next step, join us inside Micro School Masterminds, where together we are building this education system better. Head over to redreameducation.com/masterminds to learn more. Again, that's redreameducation.com/masterminds. So how as a school, how as a mom, if you're homeschooling, how as a teacher, how do we do it? I mean, if we're differentiating, we're adjusting instruction, we're using small groups, we're providing accommodations, we're offering enrichment, we still do that at Lighthouse Learning. But for personalization at Lighthouse Learning, our students are assessed. We know exactly what level they are on, not based on what their age level is. Now, we will share with parents if they are in third grade, they ideally research-based should have mastered these skills. Maybe they haven't. This is what we're going to do to personalize their pathway, and they can go as fast as we can. And together as a parent and school partnership, maybe there needs to be an additional tutoring. Maybe you're going to work more consistently at home, but at least you know exactly what you need to work on with your child. So our students participate in walk to learn groups based on their readiness. They progress through either their math pathway or their literacy pathway, and they can continue to jump and move groups. So we're never stalling them at how fast they're learning. They're going to receive instruction based on their current skill level. They're going to experience flexible learning opportunities of working with different teachers and working with different students and working and moving through learning centers in the classroom. And then they're going to pursue their interests through enrichment and project-based learning. I feel as if differentiation is something that teachers do, and we're called to do it. And that in and of itself is a skill. But personalization is something that happens when we start building schools. Differentiation happens within a lesson, but personalization, it happens within a system. So let's get into a few really nitty-gritty pieces of information about personalization. So I would say part one is we clearly know that education wasn't built for personalization. And like I said earlier, we often talk about personalization as if schools simply need to just decide to do it. But the real challenge is that our entire educational system was built to do the exact opposite. How are we expecting teachers who are being trained? First off, they've had the experience of traditional education and Industrial Revolution type of teaching. Then they go to college to become teachers, and they're taught to teach that same way. How are we able to really think about educating large numbers of students efficiently? We're not able to, because you can't teach a large group of students the same information at the same pace. Schools were designed to create consistency. And yes, as teachers, we need consistency and our students need consistency, but it looks different through personalization. Workers were prepared for factories and assembly lines. That's not what we're preparing our students for now. This is exactly what we need, why we need personalization and why it matters today, because our classrooms have ADHD students, dyslexia, maybe autism, definite executive functioning challenges, anxiety, giftedness. And every student, of course, they arrive with different experiences. When schools were built during the Industrial Revolution, I'm pretty sure a majority of moms weren't even in the workforce at that time. The household looks differently now. There's different interest in families and opportunities that we can give our students based on our society and what our culture has created, whether it comes to sports and arts and talents and trades. There's different strengths, there's different readiness levels, and those have all already existed, but we're more aware of how all of our family structures have changed over the past several decades. The average classroom, it just no longer exists. The challenge is that many schools are trying to serve today's students using yesterday's model. I think about my dad. He honestly, he is a perfect example of someone who is so gifted with his hands. And if you look back at his report cards, and we all laugh as a family, he totally had ADHD. And every teacher's like, Willie's so sweet. He just can't stay focused. He gets out of his seat. He falls out of his chair. I can't get Willie to focus. He's always looking out the window. If Willie would turn in his work. And he just did not like school. He struggled through school. And guess what he ended up doing? He ended up going to work at a factory, working on that assembly line. Paid really great money, gave really amazing benefits, and stole his soul. And it was him who said, don't ever take a job based on how much money you will get. Do what you love. And finally, he went through very, very challenging years in that profession, feeling like that was all he was trained to do and ready to do and skilled to do. And then he just totally bucked the system. Left his job, said, I'm out of here after so many years, like almost 30 years. Moved from Missouri to Florida, started his handyman business out of his truck, makes 5-7 times more than what he ever made, has flexibility, loves his job, can't even stop working. He loves it so much. How are we training kids for this? Especially if teachers were never trained. This is a conversation that very few people are having. Most teachers are trained to teach grade level standards, deliver whole group lessons, manage classrooms, follow pacing guides, use curriculum with fidelity. And very few teachers are prepared with programs to run flexible learning groups, manage multiple readiness levels simultaneously. Even if you're a homeschool mom, you're probably struggling with this. Using mastery-based progression, like where is my child? Where is he or she supposed to be? How do I get out of just buying the big third grade boxed BJU curriculum? How do I actually know what level my child is at, and how can I make sure that they are challenged at that level or supported? How do I build them their own little pathway? How can I also let them sit in the driver's seat to learn what they want to learn? I want to say that teachers and parents, they want to personalize learning. We just haven't been given the training or the systems or the support. So when I hear schools and even founders say we're going to personalize next year, teachers feel overwhelmed, not because they don't believe in it, because they don't know how to operationalize it. And I think as a founder, as an administrator, this is where we get it wrong. We're implementing personalized learning. And I can tell you that even parents think that personalized learning should look a different way. So it's very important as a leader to know, what does personalized learning look like at our school, so that parents are aware of what that personalization looks like. You may have a parent argue with you and say, I do not think that there's personalization going on in that classroom. But if there are 7 kids in a class and a teacher is pulling students to the side and not only differentiating, but also giving different supports to that student, allowing that student to go and pick out different books that they want to read and showcase their learning in a different way, or give them more challenging tasks, that is showing personalization. Maybe their class is learning fractions, but this child is still stuck on multiplication, and that teacher is showing that child how to work through multiplication, not comparing them to the rest of the class. That's personalized learning. So it's very important. A parent may get it very mixed up and not understand what personalization looks like. And we just need to educate them about what it looks like in our school. Even teachers, even administrators have an idea of what personalization looks like, but we need to actually sit together with our teams, with our teachers, with our spouses if we're homeschooling together and talk about what does this look like for our child, this child right here. What do they need? What do they love? How can we get them there? We cannot have the same schedule, the same curriculum, the same assessments, the same staffing structure, the same class sizes. It's not transformation. It's wishful thinking. If we as leaders want personalization, we have to redesign systems. We have to know, does our schedule allow for intervention? Does our schedule allow for enrichment? Does our schedule allow for students to move based on readiness? Do teachers have collaborative planning time? Are we measuring growth or are we measuring proficiency? Are we back to the old school grade book? And let me tell you, we have had to fall back to that for a little bit because our parents were like, wait, where are the grade books here? And so we had to get very crystal clear that that is not what our school is doing anymore. Our school is personalizing learning, and we will have mastery checklist for your child so that you know exactly what they are learning, what they need to be learning, and how fast we can get them to either make up and to get the support that they need. Because every parent says, I just want my kid to be learning and growing. And majority of them will say, I want them to be on grade level. If that is what you want for your child, we have to have a plan. We have to make sure that they've mastered foundational blocks before they get to that grade level expectation. Those are the conversations we have to be having with families. Do we have systems for progress monitoring? Because we can't teach a unit, give an assessment, and move on. I think that we've learned that as educators through the years, but still we have a hard time with formative versus summative assessments. And those are critical for personalization. Our curriculum, and I'll tell you, the hardest part, other than just the barrier of trying to learn and implement and train personalization, the second hardest part is finding curriculum. You have to find curriculum that is flexible. And let me just say this. Yes, there's a ton of personalization platforms out there online. And if that is the direction you want to go for students, then you're going to find a lot of adaptive learning programs. But for our school, we are pulling technology from students until grade 3. And when grade 3 students do receive technology, it is minimal. They are not learning through computers. Or we're going to continue to get the anxiety-driven students, the students who lack communication skills, the students who cannot think for themselves, who could be potentially going through firewalls to get to different AI to answer their questions. It's dangerous. We have to have curriculum where students can move forward when ready. And we have to make sure that teachers are equipped to allow the students to do that and to be nimble, skill-based, focused on mastery, not just completing your assignment. Diagnostic materials to help identify gaps and strengths and next steps. We have to find curriculum that is adaptable. Can we give intervention? Can we give acceleration? Can we give enrichment? This should support our teachers, not control them. So what teachers need in order to be successful is they have, honestly, I feel 4 areas. Assessment literacy. We need to know where our students at. They need to know what assessment looks like. Number 2, flexible grouping. We need teachers who are confident about grouping students by readiness rather than age. Number 3, small group instruction. We cannot have whole group instruction as one tool. It is not the only tool. Number 4, progress monitoring. What is working? What isn't? What needs adjustment? And can we come together as a team and literally see where every kid is in our school? This is exactly what we are doing this summer at Lighthouse Learning. We are building out our new curriculum, more robust for mastery-based and personalization. We're going to have cards for every single student. We're going to literally have team meetings where we're watching kids move through groups. And we're going to really focus on training and supporting our teachers, because when they see that their students are learning and they have the flexibility and the adaptability to help them get there, it's just the perfect combination of success. To end this, I want to say that although it seems complex, at Lighthouse Learning, I do believe that we have discovered something very simple. Reading development doesn't happen according to birthdays. A third grader might need phonics instruction. A first grader might be ready for advanced comprehension. And this is why we built our Walk to Learn model. Students are moving in instructional groups based on readiness, not age, not grade level, not need. And while there are multi-layers to how this is getting accomplished, the end goal is that teachers focus on the skills that students actually need, students receive their targeted instruction, and growth becomes the goal, not just simply keeping up. The future of education is not more worksheets, it's not more testing, it's not more standardization. It's knowing students deeply, it's using data wisely, it's building flexible systems, it's creating pathways instead of pipelines, because personalized learning isn't a program. It's not a curriculum. It's not a software platform. It is a mindset supported by systems. If you're really interested in learning more about this, I invite you to Microschool Masterminds because we meet together every single week and I just love the nitty-gritty of all of this. I want to give a huge shout out to Mrs. Old, who is fervently working at our school on really making sure this vision is highly, highly excellent and beautiful and so pristine. She's just working so hard and she's so bright and she's brilliant and she's so invested. And I want to give shout outs to Kate and I want to give shout outs to Miss Gonzalez, who is helping us to really hone in on what this looks like for our students and our materials and our supplies and expectations and mastery and looking at how students are growing and changing. And of course, my husband, who is just the fire behind us all, making sure that we have the classroom materials, furniture needed to support it and make our classrooms look beautiful and therapeutic. And we're not totally there yet, but we at least have a team of people that are on fire to make it happen. And we just believe God, we trust Him in the rest. And if you are someone who is working through this yourself, I know that it doesn't feel easy, but it is so worth it. And if you are right there along with us and you want to learn more, join us in Microschool Masterminds. You can find out more at ReDreamEducation.com. And if you are a parent and you're interested in Lighthouse Learning, definitely go visit us, come for a tour at LighthouseLearningMicroschool.com. It is time to redream education and to actually take that next step. Join us in Microschool Masterminds every single week for live group coaching, self-paced modules, and of course, a powerful community. Head on over to ReDreamEducation.com/masterminds and join us in our free Facebook group at ReDream Education Microschool Community. To learn more, that's ReDreamEducation.com/masterminds.